YouTube. I want to point out a fault with DJI Flight Simulator in that it looks like their server may be infected. I have seen numerous cases, and I've had my own personal experience, where the software allows various malware to come into the host computer. And I'm actually going to get into the documentation and actually show you the ports that look like they're open. In other words, a summary of things that are network connected and everything like that to anonymous servers. And on the forums, I originally posted my experience where WebRoot intercepted a Trojan that was actually a piece of ransomware. And so anyway, what I want to do is just mention that this is not a good situation for me personally, because here in the Midwest, every day it's rained outside. And then we have this new set of rules that have come out for hobbyist drones. And I practice as a hobbyist drone flyer. Before, I just called the tower and let them know, and I'm just going to operate in the very corner of their airspace. I was 4.91 miles from the center of the, where the control tower is, and it was perfect. But now you got to use Lance, or you have to go through the portal that doesn't exist yet. Rumor has it by the FAA that it should be out sometime near the end of June. And the other option is obviously fly from a fixed flight point, such as an AMA field or something like that, where they have, all kinds of coordination ahead of time with letters of agreement. But for right now, for me, I wanted to be able to practice, and particularly I was a good candidate for the enterprise version of this software, because as I keep current and mitigate my liability under a 107 operation, I wanted to log my practice flights and my practice time, and just to show that I do every bit of due diligence to be a professional drone pilot. But unfortunately, I upgraded my computer to a new video card. I actually have that right here, and this is a GeForce GTX 1060. I would love to have gone to something like the 1080, but my Dell XPS has a pretty powerful processor, 24 gig of RAM, and 1 terabyte SSD drive. But the problem that I have is the video card was woefully weak, and it didn't meet their specs. However, that Dell edited 4K video and resolved just fine. So anyway, I spent $225 so I could use this program. I'm not alone. I'll show you some of the other posts that people have had in the DJI forums. So far, crickets. One of the moderators said, "Oh, ignore it. It's a false positive. We talked to engineering." I don't think that's prudent advice, and I'll show you why as I get into the video. I have a screen capture of the installation process, the result, and what you end up with is a bunch of connections to servers that are anonymous or unknown. And I'll also show you a summary of all the malware threats that come from this installation. So whether it's intentional on DJI's part, which I doubt, more likely it's a compromised server on their part. But the bad news is these are very serious threats, and every piece of virus recognition software has identified the threat. Avest, McAfee, Norton, WebRoot, Evria, and Windows Defender, just to name a few, are coming with sometimes one threat, like my Trojan, or multiple threats. So it's a serious situation. Right over here, I have a screen capture when I was running the software, and here's the route. I don't know if that I caught from WebRoot, the interception it did. I'll actually put that up as a slide in just a moment. So it's a serious problem, and so far DJI said they'll look into it. But the pages of people with this problem, it just keeps growing and growing, and there are a lot of people like myself, and I have the documentation on that from DJI forums, where they upgraded their computer system, and I'll have those specs for you, so that they could run this. And so we've been kind of left out in the lurch, and I was, like I said, I'm a professional photographer. I was a good candidate for the enterprise version, but right now I I say use a lot of caution. I have read about virus also in the DJI Assistant for Windows. I'm blessed that I have a really good Mac to use for the DJI Assistant, but not so good on this Windows 10 machine. Thank you. The screen capture video that you're looking at was not made by myself. I actually downloaded it off the DJI forum by another poster, and I do not have permission to identify him, so I'm going to edit it in such a way that it should remain fairly anonymous for him, but it certainly summarizes the risks involved. And in this particular software, you can see all the logs and the various steps of the installation. What is interesting is the next to last step. It identifies 3 unknown anonymous Chinese servers, and that's where I believe that this software might be compromised. And at the end, I will post a still slide that you can pause and look at with all the attributes of the malware that's bundled with the DJI Flight Simulator. And I want to make it very clear that my simulator was downloaded specifically from DJI and not through any other source. And I personally had a very serious piece of malware intercepted. It's identified as a Trojan, a piece of ransomware. And one of the things that bothered me was during the installation, the software wanted to have permission to go through my firewall. And that's not a normal behavior by valid software. Having faith in DJI, I thought I would give it permission. But I want to make it really clear. There are moderators out there that say that this is a false positive. If you look at the installation summary and the identification from Sandbox Software, this is a very serious threat. And I want to mention, particularly from the ransomware standpoint, I don't think it's something that we can run. In the fact that so many pieces of malware software have identified it and identified more than one threat. And as you will see, there's 8 or 9 active pieces of malware that were identified during the install. Anyway, I hope this helps. I'm going to be posting more screen captures of some of the discussions, people that have upgraded their systems. There have been many pages of people that have had infected computers from this, and so far, even though there's a pretty good proof that this is real, crickets from DJI, just no response. I'm going to show you the minimum system requirements for running DJI Flight Simulator, and I fell short of the 1050 Ti with my machine. But in the following posts on the subject of viruses, you'll see somebody else right after my post that also upgraded their video card specifically to run this app, and now they're afraid to download the software. And I'll also present, just leave them up on screen for a few seconds, people showing the various programs like Averia, a gentleman's from France. I'll show you a McAfee capture of, or discussing the actual virus. He also caught it in Windows, or what was identified by Windows Defender. It seems to be, a number of different virus programs and malware programs, as I said earlier, that are detecting this. And again, people are waiting for a reply from DJI. I would certainly appreciate it, and I would like to make sure that they really have this remedied. There are some video games that are being boycotted right now on the internet because of known virus problems with them. Because a lot of the software seems to be have problems with having embedded malware. So DJI, please fix this. You make great drones, you make great products, but right now I invested some money, which is not a big deal, but I really need the functionality of the software. Are you listening, DJI? Are you listening? Hello? DJI, are you there? DJI? Hello? Your users in your forums want to know. DJI, are you listening?